Please be seated. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And welcome. I love the end of Job. It's a hard book to read your way through. There's just so much suffering and vocalization of that suffering. And then in the end, we have this discourse between Job and God, where God finally answers Job's pleas. And then Job speaks in response to God. There's a big difference between hearing about God and learning about God firsthand. And we hear that moment of transformation for Job this morning. I have heard about you, but now I have seen with my own eyes. We hear that echoed in this morning's psalm. We hear that echoed in this morning's gospel as Bartimaeus is literally re-given his sight. He hears that Jesus is coming, calls out to him, and then sees him firsthand. And he doesn't go. He gets up and follows. I think that's that experience of transformation for each of us. We hear about God from those who raise us. I remember picturing this white-bearded old man sitting up in the clouds on a golden throne, from what my parents told me. And then the moment comes. The moment comes when we encounter the divine for ourselves. And everything is different. I know that for me, and you've heard some of you have heard this before, it was when my best friend tricked me into going to his Episcopal youth group when I was a senior in high school. And then he and another of my new best friends from youth group managed to convince the coordinator of youth ministries in the diocese to let me go to an amazing retreat called Happening. There's a very similar retreat going on in our diocese this weekend called Quest. It was at that retreat that I encountered God in a very different, very personal way that brought my faith to a new level for me. It was a transformation through the love of my peers, talking about God active in their life in very real ways, not distant, not far removed, but engaged, present, and active. And it helped me to see my life in a new way. To see my life in a way that I had never expected. I got to hear Eva's talk from last night. They put it up on YouTube for people who weren't able to make it to the retreat. I got to hear her speak at convention at the beginning of this month. She talked at convention about how Quest transformed her faith, how it gave her a new understanding of herself, how it helped her find herself. And in her talk at Quest, she talked more about what that finding herself meant to her. To a group of kids who had come, I don't know what they were expecting, but I know Luke is amongst them. And I know it was a big stretch for him to go this weekend. My hope is that he will find that acceptance, that love, that grace that gives him the space to accept himself in a new way. Each of us is given opportunities throughout our life where we come face to face with the divine, Christ alive in our midst. We find them in strangers, in the generosity of friends, in the kindness of those who reach out to us in our darkest times, who help to lift us up and see the light of hope when we feel that all hope has been lost. As we listen to our scriptures this morning, this is an experience that's been happening to humankind since Job's time. Job is one of the oldest books in the Hebrew Testament. It comes before the rest of the canon was written down in the exile. So that dates back probably to the 10th or earlier century before the Common Era, a long time ago. And still that experience of encountering God and being transformed in it was every bit as real in that story, in the people's experience that told that story, as it is for us right here in our own time. There's something tremendously beautiful about claiming our faith, about knowing that God is with us, not just being told, about experiencing God in our midst, rather than just hearing about it. It transforms us. It transforms whole communities. And as we continue to live that love in the world every day, we continue to help others find that transformation, that encounter that allows them to see with their own eyes the hope, the light, the love that surrounds them, the hope that will eventually transform our world as we continue our work one life at a time. And so as I came back from Happening transformed, and as Eva came back from Quest transformed, and as I hope to hear from Luke that he's had this amazing encounter, so too, I hope that each of us finds that place and that we can acknowledge it, to give thanks for it, and to live it. We come to this place each Sunday for nurture, to be refilled for the week, for community, for friendship. In this place, we find that grace surrounding us that allows us to be our authentic selves, that allows us to speak our truth in the safety of loving community. It empowers us for the journey through our next week as we strive to live that love and that truth in the world. And so may we this week take these readings to heart as we go back into our world, into our jobs, into our lives. In the coming weeks as we leave on long journeys that will take us to new places. May we know that God goes with us not because we've heard it, but because we have seen with our own eyes. Because we know in our own hearts. And may that knowledge shine through us to the others we encounter. Amen.